When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. The people of West Cameroon have a duty to resist your oppression.
Hi there, I'm here to address one key concern that has been raging and is raging in the western part of Cameroon for more than half a century. For the very first time, nearly 10 million English-speaking Cameroonians have taken to the streets peacefully or have sat back at home to engage in boycotts from all sectors of life because they want to express one key grievance: their right to independence. And a little group of people want the right to federalism. These are all two logical and rational concerns, because for the very first time in the country's history, never have we seen such a large protest and a long-lasting protest without any end in sight. For the very first time, the people have been speaking out. There are just two steps towards advocacy: to speak out and take action. The people have been speaking out and they are transitioning to action at the moment. Because since 1961, when the country was ruled by a French leader and transitioned again to another French leader in 1982, never have the people, the English-speaking people of Cameroon, the millions of people, the millions, we're talking about more than 10 or nearly 10 million citizens in that part of the country, never have they ever been called to the dialogue table to explain why, or to express their grievances, or to demand for their rights, to know why they have been marginalized in this so-called unitary system, why they have been alienated from all sectors of life, why they are not treated as equals in this country that voted, that wanted unity, but was never signed in the very first place by the United Nations. I'm taking the cue here after Honorable Wirba. I will describe him as the Martin Luther King of West Cameroon. For the very first time, we saw an MP marching up to the rostrum, to the podium of that kangaroo parliament, to speak to the gangster regime, to speak to a member of the gangster regime, Mr. Paul Biya, to speak to members of the gangster regime resting or sitting, putting their butts on that parliament seats, to listen to him talk, address his people, address his country, address the grievances of his people, why they are marginalized in this country, why they are marginalized in this so-called unitary system. Of course, he clearly endorsed, encouraged, pushed his weight. He pushed the car that has been mired in mud. He pushed us to go forward with this, our protest. This is a laudable initiative. I lack words to appreciate that. At the end of the day, it is very simple. Everyone who has been lackadaisical, everyone who has been feet-dragging, everyone who has been pulling back from this protest should be encouraged. Should be encouraged by what Honorable Wirba, Martin Luther King Jr. said in Parliament. Should be encouraged that we have a right to speak out. Should be encouraged that we have a right not to fear. Not to fear. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to speak out for your rights. It is your right to speak out, to demand why you are being marginalized, to demand why your concerns are not being dialogued in a country where you pay your taxes, in a country where you contribute towards nation building, in a country where you contribute towards the economic growth and welfare of the society. But you contribute under force, you contribute under repression, you contribute under marginalization. Of course, we have the right to know why we are not treated as equals in this country. At the end of the day, it is very simple. This is a strong message that has been passed by the Member of Parliament, Honorable Wirba, and he is not speaking, or he was not speaking as an MP, but he was speaking as someone who represents a group of people in northwest Cameroon who was elected by a group of people currently fighting for their own rights in their own country. Mr. Biya, time is running out. I believe you listen to that man speak. I believe you listen to that our hero speak. I believe you listen to that great citizen whom you know spoke. He spoke to you directly. You should address this concern because time is running out. There is much to what people can take. There is much to harassment, to the rapings, to the killings that we can take in our own backyards. There is much to the marginalization that we can take. At this moment, your time is running out. It is very clear. You're already 83 years old. How long do you think you can live in power? How long do you think you can use the last kick of a dying horse? It is very simple. It is either you call these 10 million citizens who have jointly elected or formed a consortium to represent their voices, you call them to the dialogue table and stop these back channel negotiations where you handpick your own consortium members to represent you or to represent us at that dialogue table. We will not accept that. It is very simple. We are now educated. We are not fools. We are very smart to detect your tactics. We are in the diaspora contributing to peace and security in that country because the money we send back home daily or monthly or yearly outweighs far more what trickles down from top to bottom in that national development hierarchy. What trickles down as salaries to the bottom or to the common man on the streets. It is very simple. It is either you listen to us because the Anglophone speak as one at this moment. The Anglophones are not ready to sell their consciences for another half a century. The Anglophones are not ready to live under inequality. The Anglophones are not ready to live under marginalization from all the sectors where they contribute towards national development. The Anglophones are ready for independence. The Anglophones are ready for at least federalism. So it is either you choose one of these two and you dialogue with us on our concerns, because federalism at the end of the day would benefit not only the Anglophones but the country at large. It benefits the Northeast. It benefits even the French-speaking Cameroonians down south or down southeast. At the end of the day, we are fighting not against the French-speaking people of Cameroon, but against a gangster or a dubious, a logically flawed empirical system called the political system. The political system of governance called unitary system. It is unitary in its own smokescreen title, in its own cosmetic title. Take off the unitary, it is not unitary. At the end of the day, bring us to the dialogue table. Let us not push this fight to another level because we are taking so much. And thirdly, pull back all your 3,000, nearly 3,000 soldiers you've sent to the English-speaking part of Cameroon to brutalize, to rape, to kill, to maim us. Pull back those soldiers and send them to the north to fight against terrorists. We are not terrorists. This morning, the United Nations Human Rights Commission put out a press release clearly comparing Cameroon to Syria. Of course, the competition or the comparison is very flawed because Cameroon is even more than Syria. Cameroon's human rights abuses outweigh even that of Syria because for one reason, the legitimate government of Syria uses its military and the police to protect its innocent civilians who are facing threats from terrorists. But in Cameroon, the legitimate government of President Paul Biya uses its soldiers, its Boko gendarmes and police haram people to brutalize its own citizens. The legitimate government of Cameroon has sent, instead of sending the troops up north to fight against Boko Haram, they have sent the troops to fight against what they describe as terrorists in the northern speaking part of the north and the southwest English speaking part of Cameroon. We will not accept that. We will resort to every means of violence. Every means, believe me, every means of violence, including traditional mystical powers. We have mystical powers. In as much as we pray, we have people who believe in mystical powers and they will drop down your soldiers like flies. Believe me. But we are very peaceful people. We will not use violence at this moment. We will not. We don't want to hold guns. But we will use our own means of violence. Very indirect, which is mystical powers. Believe me, mystical powers. So you soldiers who have been sent to the northwest, the southwest regions of Cameroon, you should be very careful for your life and the life of your own families. Because raping our girls, we are not happy. Killing our sons, we are not happy. Terrorizing the lives of our millions of people in that part of the country, we are not happy. And brutalizing our mothers, stopping our businesses, we are not happy. It is either you pull back from our territory or we pull into your territory. And that is why Honorable Wirba has started by talking in your parliament. Believe me, there is action soon. I'm begging for the very last time, you should call your people to dialogue, because we are no longer fools and will no longer accept terrorism by your gangster regime and by the gangster soldiers operating in a rogue state. Thank you very much. My name is Tapang Ivo Tanku.
When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. The people of West Cameroon have a duty to resist your oppression.